Okay, folks, Jeff here. Driving in the car this morning, talking to my son, and trying to explain why, kind of the value of things, because this is going to be a book about value and quality service and service and all that and quality. And I was talking about how we sometimes use things for one purpose, and then we actually go and do it. We actually go do it. We try to use it for a different thing or a different purpose, and we actually try to repurpose things. But we do it for the wrong thing. Then it doesn't work, and we complain about it. So the example is translation systems that we try to use. I always talk about I start getting people talking in the background, but I'm in an animal park, so that's where the noise is, right? So whatever. But the funny thing was that we always try to explain, the whole inbound translation, inward translation, content ingesting versus outbound translation, outward translation, translation for publication. I got different videos on this, so go watch those for more details. But the sometimes people will take, and I made a video about this. I wrote an article about thinking about machine translation in 2002 in Multilingual magazine. I talked about how sometimes companies repurpose. They use they buy an inbound translation system, and then they'll want to use it for outbound translation. They wonder why it doesn't have good quality, because it's not made to do that, right? And so a lot of these companies that make on platforms stuff that's for inbound translation, not for outbound. That's the way it's kind of made. And then we're trying to, we have a whole thing of trying to redo this or use Neural MT for everything, but you can't use Neural MT because you're trying to make it one system do everything, right? It doesn't quite always work. So the whole thing that you've got to kind of deal with, and I want to give an analogy of this, because that's why I try to do it with my son, try to figure out how can we explain this to people so they understand what this means, right? Because this is the hardest thing in this whole field, is explain how to do this, or why we can't use inbound translation systems for outbound translation system purposes, right? People just don't understand. I'm going to give us an analogy, because we were driving in the car. I said, so I have a car. I'm driving on the freeway, right? The Autobahn, Autoroute, whatever we can call this thing. Driving along, okay? I got a bike rack in the back. So I bought a car that I can drive on freeways, highways, regular roads, right? But now what if I want to take that car, the same Renault car, just a regular car, right? And what if I want to go up and drive it up a steepy, rocky mountain road, right? That's got a lot of rocks and a lot of dirt, and it's really steep and everything. And my son says, no, you got to go get a different car. I said, what do you need to get? He says, you got to get a Jeep. And see, that's exactly what it is, right? It's exactly what it is. So I'm not going to take my Renault car to go ahead and I'm not going to take my Renault car and go use it for a Jeep purpose, because then I would be doing the exact same thing I do if I take a machine translation system and for an inbound purpose, and I go do it for an outbound need, right? Totally different purpose, totally different purpose. So the whole thing. So if we want to explain this whole concept to other people, our customers, try to explain to them why they shouldn't be doing it, we need to use analogies like this, because these are things they can identify with, right? Rather than giving this completely, well, you can't use an inbound purpose for an outbound translation. They won't get it. So find analogies, find anecdotes, find things that they can identify with. Say, oh yeah, duh, I wouldn't take a regular car to go do on a road. You need a 4x4 Jeep, right? You need a Wrangler or whatever, right? Or you need a Hummer, right, to go up the steep hill. And I think this is something that we all need to get better at. We just all need to get better at this. And I think that once we do that, then we're going to make these invisible things about translation topics easy to understand to those that don't understand why it's important, why it's not visible, and why it's so. Sometimes we talk about these things and we try to make a big deal about stuff that really isn't. People don't get it, right? They just don't. Though word people get it, but the non-word people, who are the buyers, they don't get it. So maybe the intermediary people, like the globalization, localization leaders and stuff of the companies, they get the buyers, but they're not the ones actually funding it. They're the ones that are actually funding it. And you got to help them give a reason to get their funders internally to actually fund these things. Help them find analogies like the car, like the car and Jeep thing, with respect to inbound and outbound translation and budgeted stuff and all the budgeted content on non-budgeted content. Find those analogies, help them explain and get the funding for it. So that's my thoughts for a day on it. These are things that I think about a lot, and I'm always trying to sell it more, sell the ideas more. So we need to help our customers and our buyers sell the things so they can pay for the things, right? Hopefully that's it. Take care.